Welcome to Colourful Data Makes Clear Decisions, Mastering Conditional Formatting, where we will turn bland spreadsheets into powerful visual storytellers. I'm going to start by asking you a question, and the question is pretty simple. Have you ever used conditional formatting in Excel before? So please type your answer in the chat. And while you do that, I'm just going to go through what we'll discuss today. Lots of yeses, I see. Lots of yeses and very little. Not much. Oh, that's so exciting. Many times I'm here to learn a few tricks. Yes. Oh, this is exciting. So I look forward to spending the next hour or so with you as we discuss conditional formatting. But what are we going to discuss? What are we going to talk about? We'll talk about what conditional formatting is. And then after that, we'll talk about a couple of scenarios where you can use conditional formatting, where you can turn your dry data into actionable insights. And then we'll get into the actual feature. We're going to look at the various conditional formatting tools that are available in Excel and how to apply them. And then after that, we'll talk about creating rules and which pitfalls to avoid as we use conditional formatting. So it is, as Joy said, an action-packed hour or so. Let's start by defining what conditional formatting is. What is conditional formatting? The textbook definition is conditional formatting is a feature in Excel that automatically changes the appearance of cells based on specific rules or conditions. So basically what this means is if we split the words conditional and formatting, that means we format a cell or cells in Excel based on a condition or a standard that we set. So we're formatting or styling a cell, but only if it meets the standard that we set, only if it meets the condition. So that's what conditional formatting is, basically. And a great illustration for depicting what conditional formatting is a traffic light. If you think of how traffic lights work, green lights mean go, and the yellow light means slow down, be cautious, and the red light means stop. So something needs attention. And conditional formatting works in a very similar way. It will change the color of cells based on the data inside, and it does that automatically. So you can quickly see what needs attention, what needs your focus, or what's okay, what doesn't need any of your attention. So that's basically what conditional formatting can be likened to. Let's take a look at a couple of formatting tools that we have in Excel, formatting options. If you go to the Home ribbon and the font group, you'll find this group of formatting options in the font group. You'll find a couple of formatting options, and some of these can be used for formatting in conditional formatting. So for example, you could change the color of the cell, the color that fills the cell, or you could change the color of the font. You could make your font bold. You could italicize your font. You could underline your font. You could add a border. Not all, but most of these options can be used in conditional formatting to format the data that meets the condition that you stipulate. But why use conditional formatting in the first place? Why is it helpful? Conditional formatting is like your personal data highlighter. So imagine going through your spreadsheet with a highlighter and you'd like to highlight what matters most. That's kind of what conditional formatting will do for you, but it does it automatically. So conditional formatting will instantly highlight important data. So if you'd like to see things like the top 10 or the bottom 10, any outliers or anything like that, conditional formatting will do that for you in an automatic way. Conditional formatting is also great at spotting patterns or trends that you wouldn't necessarily be able to spot using the naked eye. It would take you a while to kind of figure out the trend of your data if you were to do it manually, but conditional formatting makes it happen automatically. Conditional formatting also flags any errors that might be in your data set. So if you have duplications or empty cells, conditional formatting can help you to spot those and fix whatever needs to be fixed. And finally, conditional formatting helps you to make faster decisions and more informed decisions, because your data is not just a visual representation of numbers or text, it's actually a story. So your data turns into a story, and it's about making your spreadsheets meaningful and making them work smarter for you. So I'm going to show you an example of a before and after. So on the left is before conditional formatting, and on the right is after conditional formatting. And you can tell that it makes a world of difference. You can interpret your data, you can spot any outliers, any trends, or any ranges in your data pretty quickly by just taking a look at the data set on the right. By the end of this session, you should be able to perform that conditional formatting that we have on the right side of the screen. But before we get into it, when can you use conditional formatting? Well, conditional formatting is a data analysis tool. So if you're analyzing data over time, you're analyzing things like your monthly sales or maybe attendance numbers or performance scores, conditional formatting can help you to highlight those trends instantly and automatically. So it's great for that. It's also great at flagging exceptions. If you have unusually low performance or unusually high numbers, it's easy for you to spot those with the help of conditional formatting. It's also great at visual grouping. There are types of conditional formatting built-in tools that will help group your data into different ranges or different groups, and we'll see a couple of those later on. It's also great at emphasizing what are known as KPIs, key performance indicators. So if you'd like to spotlight the top 10% or high achievers or top performers, conditional formatting is really great at that. And finally, it's useful for spotting duplicates or errors. So it's an actually useful tool for data cleaning, which is what data analysts spend a lot of time doing. Conditional formatting can help you clean your data in an accurate way before you share it or analyze it. So let's take a look at a couple of practical use cases where conditional formatting can be used before we start actually performing conditional formatting. So I'm going to pull up a couple of files, and the first file is, it's going to be one worksheet, one workbook, but with 3 different worksheets. And I'll show you how conditional formatting works in all of them, how it's applied. So the first one, this is a sales record for 5 regions over 2 quarters. And this is a type of conditional formatting called color scales, where you see 3 ranges of data. So you have the data in the high range, data in the mid range, and data in the low range. So the data in the low range is going to be red, the data in the mid range is going to be yellow, and the data in the high range is going to be green. And you can immediately spot the good performances and the not so good performances by just looking at those cells and looking at that type of conditional formatting. Next, we have a type of conditional formatting called data bars. So data bars are a colored bar that fills your cell. The higher the data in the cell, the longer the bar, the higher the value in the cell, the longer the bar is going to be. So it communicates the high performance and also the low performances. It's kind of like a bar chart laid on its side. If you lay your bar chart on its side, it's going to look like this. So that is data bars. And finally, I have this example of conditional formatting. Excuse me. This example of conditional formatting where we apply a certain color to each status of a project. So if it's orange, it means the project is in progress. If it's red, it means the project is overdue. And if it's green, it means the project is completed. So those are some of the different ways that you could use conditional formatting in different situations. But now let's go into the actual feature, the actual tool, conditional formatting, and we'll see how it can be used in Excel. All right. So conditional formatting in Excel can be used in 2 different ways. You could use Excel's built-in tools. These are designed to make conditional formatting easy for you to use. Or if you don't find any built-in tool that's going to work for you, you can use or create a rule from scratch. So we're going to start by discussing the built-in tools, and then we'll discuss how to create a rule from scratch. So let's start with the first one, highlight cell rules. Highlight cell rules, and I'm going to bring up a file that we will use to discuss highlight cell rules. Okay. All right, so you'll find conditional formatting on the home ribbon and the styles group. That's where you'll find that big red button that says conditional formatting. If you click on the button, the first section there is the first tool, highlight cells rules. And what this tool does is it will highlight a cell based on a certain rule. And if you mouse over that section, you'll see a list of possible rules that you could use for your data. So you could highlight a cell based on the rule that it is greater than a certain number, or you could highlight a cell based on the rule that it's less than a certain number, or it could be that a cell is equal, has a value equal to a certain number, or you could even highlight a cell based on the fact that it contains text, certain text, or it could be a date occurring either in the past or in the future or between two dates. There's a variety of ways that you can use these listed rules. But what I'm going to ask you is, which rule would you use if you wanted to highlight all sales that were below 500? Which rule would you use for that? I'll bring up my chat. Yes, everybody got it right. Less than, right? Yes, so you'd use the less than rule because it's going to take a look at your data set and highlight all the cells that are less than 500. So let's take a look and see how this works. We'll apply this to the data set that we have here. This is a sales records data set. We have a list of sales that have been made by various salespeople. And what the boss asked us to do is to highlight sales that are greater than 40,000. So anytime there's a sale that's greater than 40,000, we want to flag that. We want to take a look at that sale. So let's see how that can be done. First, let's highlight all the amounts, so all the data that we would like to perform conditional formatting on. Select the whole section. For me, it's going to be that range right there. After that, we go to conditional formatting, so the home ribbon, the styles group. We click on conditional formatting. Then we go to our first tool, highlight cells rules. And for this instance, we would like to highlight cells that are greater than 40,000. So obviously, we'll choose the greater than rule. So I'm going to click on greater than. And when I do, I'll get this greater than box. And this box has two sections, a section for the condition and a section for the formatting, conditional formatting. So on the left is the condition. We're formatting cells that are greater than. It's put in a number in there, but that's not the number that we want. We want 40,000. So I'm just going to clear that and type in the number that we want, which is 40,000. So the condition is set. And then over on the right, the formatting, it has to be set now. So we have a default type of formatting that's been offered to us. It says if we find cells that are greater than 40,000, they'll be formatted with a light red fill with dark red text. So that's what we see here, but I don't like this formatting style because I feel like red has a negative connotation and these are actually good sales amounts. So I'm going to change it to green because green is good. So I'll do that by expanding that menu and changing it from light red fill with dark red text to green fill with dark green text. And I'm going to click on that. And it's changed the type of format. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to click OK. And there you go. We have just performed conditional formatting on this data set. We've highlighted cells where the value is greater than 40,000. So that is an example of how to use highlight cells rules. Let's do the next example. I'm just going to close this file. And the next one we'll do is top and bottom rules. Top and bottom rules. And this is one of my favorites. So I'm going to pull up a file that we will demonstrate how to use top and bottom rules. Top and bottom rules. So this is a pretty big data set. It's got hundreds of rows and so much data. And at a glance, a data set like this may seem really overwhelming. But with conditional formatting, you can pull out really interesting insights from a data set this large. So say, for example, we would like to see the highest 200 sales, so top 200 sales, and would also like to highlight the above average profit figures. So let's use top and bottom rules to highlight those two. We'll start with top 200 sales. So I'm going to go to the sales column. I'm just going to select the entire column because it's a massive data set. So I'll select the entire column. We'll go back to the home ribbon and the styles group, and I'm going to click on conditional formatting and go to the second built-in rule, which is top and bottom rules. And on that menu, I get a list of rules that you can use. So these are the top and bottom rules. So you could do top 10 items, top 10%, bottom 10 items, above average and below average. And the cool thing about these top and bottom rules is you don't even have to know what the average is. Excel will just calculate the average for you and show you the data that's above average if you ask it to. So it's pretty neat. Okay, so we would like to do top 200 sales. But on this list, we don't have top 200. We only have top 10. But the good news is that top 10 can be tweaked. If we click on top 10, you'll see that on our condition section on the left, we can tweak that. And instead of 10, we can change it to 200. And we will format the top 200 sales. And I'm going to change this from red to yellow this time. And then click OK. And as you can see in that column, the top 200 sales are going to be highlighted with dark yellow text and a dark and yellow fill. So that's top 200. Let's do the next one. Above average profit. It's the same concept. We go to the profit column. I'll select the entire column, click on conditional formatting, top and bottom rules. This time we are looking for above average profit. So it's pretty easy. We click on above average. And again, that red formatting is applied because that's the default formatting. But I'd like something really different now. I would like purple text with a light purple fill. And I don't see that on this list. So what that means is I need to create a custom format. So I'm going to click on custom format. And when I do, I'll get this format cells box, and that allows me to go crazy when it comes to formatting. I can change the font color, I can change the font style, I can add borders, I can change the colors that fill the text, I can add patterns. There's so many formatting options that are available in this format cells box. But I'll keep it simple. I'll just do purple text, and I'll fill this with a light purple fill. So for light purple, there we go. Click OK and OK. And now, anytime we have an above average profit figure, it's going to have that purple formatting. So that is top and bottom rules, and it's really great for grabbing useful insight from your data without spending too much time or effort. Right, now let's take a look at the last three built-in tools that we have in Excel, and we'll use one worksheet to demonstrate those. So we have data bars, color scales, and icon sets. So we have here a data set that's listing employees, their sales figures, their satisfaction score, and their performance rating. So for their sales figures, we would like to perform conditional formatting and use data bars. So data bars, again, are a colored bar that you'll see placed in your cell. And the longer the bar, the higher the value in the cell, or the higher the value in the cell, the longer the bar. So let's perform conditional formatting on this column, the sales column. So I'll select it first, click on conditional formatting, go to data bars. And for data bars, you have two options. You could do a gradient fill. That's where you have a dark colored bar that goes lighter as it goes across the cell. Or you could do a solid fill where you have a solidly colored bar in the cell. I'm going to do a solid fill. I'm going to choose green as my color. I'm going to click in there, and there is my colored bar, my data bars, and we've performed conditional formatting on that sales column. And we can quickly see the high values and the low values just by looking at that column, and the data bars communicate that pretty easily. Let's take a look at the satisfaction column. We'll use a satisfaction column to display color scales. So color scales are a gradient of colors or a gradient of a range of colors that are applied to your cells. So there's normally 3 colors. So one color is depicting the high range of your data set. One color will depict the low range of your data set, and the other color will depict the mid range of your data set. So I'm going to select the satisfaction column, go back to conditional formatting button, and mouse over color scales. So for color scales, there is a variety of colors you can choose from. We have green, yellow, red, red, yellow, green, green, white, red, red, white, green, blue, white, red, and etc. Many combinations of colors to choose from. But I'm going to choose the first one, green, yellow, red, because it makes sense for my data set. I want the high numbers to be really green and the low numbers to be red and yellow to just represent the numbers in the mid-range. So that's what I'm going to select. If you were displaying something like temperature numbers or temperature values, this would be a great one to use, red, white, blue, because the lower the value, the bluer the cell would get, and the higher value, the redder the cell would get. So it would be a nice representation of high temperatures and low temperatures. But I'll stick with the first one, green, yellow, red, and I've applied that to my data set. And I can see right off the bat, the best performing employee with the highest satisfaction, and also the lowest performing employee with the lowest satisfaction, just by looking at that column that has conditional formatting performed on it. The last built-in tool we'll discuss is called icon sets. And this is very similar to color scales, except that instead of filling the cell with color, we use icons to depict the different ranges. Again, we have a high range, we have a low range, and we have a mid-range. So I'm going to go back to the feature and go over icon sets. So there is a wide variety of icon sets that you could use. There are arrows, there are circles that you could use. You could use graphs, mini graphs, stars, ratings, all sorts. But I'm just going to use the first one. So the first one is showing us the green arrow pointing up, that's in the high range. The yellow arrow pointing to the right, that's the mid-range. And the red arrow pointing down, that's the low range. And I can apply those, and right away you can see the highest performance ratings just by looking at the arrows. You know the red arrows have the lowest performance ratings and the green arrows have the highest performance ratings. So those are the last 3 of the built-in tools that Excel provides. And these built-in tools are created to simplify conditional formatting. It makes it easy for you to perform conditional formatting because these rules are kind of built in. They are easy for you to just use and tweak to apply to your data set. But sometimes you might find that there is no rule that can be applied to your specific data set. You take a look at all the rules and none of them work in your situation. So in that case, when you find that there are rules, the rules that exist or the built-in tools that exist don't work in your situation, you might have to create a rule from scratch. So let's try and do that. Let's create a rule from scratch and let's see how we can do that. We'll use this file for that. So this is a data set where we are listing a couple of tasks and the status of each task and the days overdue for the completion of each task. So what we'd like to do is mark the days overdue column. So anytime we have 10 days or more overdue, we'd like that to be marked red because it's a problem, it's a crisis. So we want to have, anytime we have 10 days or more, we want to mark that cell red. So let's do that. I'm just going to select the data set and we'll go to conditional formatting. And this time I'm going to go to new rule because we are creating a rule from scratch. So I'll click on new rule. And when I do, I'm going to get this box called new formatting rule box. And this is where you build your rule. So there are rule foundations that you can select and then further edit your rule description down here, specify the specifics of your rule. So of all of these, I think the second one works for me. Format only cells that contain a certain value. So down here, I can specify the details of my rule. I would like to format only cells with the value that is greater than 10. That's what I want to do. Anytime I have a number greater than 10, I want to format that cell. So what is my formatting? So down here, we have the preview for your formatting, and it's telling us that no format has been set. That's okay. We're going to click on this format button to set up our format. So I'm going to click on that and get that same format cells box that allows us to set our format. And I just want to fill the cell with a red color just to grab my attention. And then I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK. So that seemed to have worked pretty well, except initially I said that I wanted to mark 10 days or more. If the days overdue are 10 or more, then I'd like to mark it red. But when I set up my rule, I said greater than 10. So I didn't include the number 10. And as you can see, the number 10 is not formatted. So anytime you make a mistake on the rule, just as I have, you can edit the rule. You can tweak your rule. Even after it's been applied and saved, it can be changed. And I'll show you how. So while you have your data set selected, let's go back to the menu. Going back to the conditional formatting button. But this time, we'll go all the way to the end. Manage rules. Manage rules. And we're going to click on that. What I'd like to do is just make a slight change to my rule. So there's my rule, the rule that's applied to this data set. And if you take a look at this box, this rules manager box, it's just a great place for setting a new rule. If you'd like, you could do it from here. You can edit a rule just as we're about to. You can delete rules from here. And you can also duplicate rules. Duplicating rules is a great feature because you can create a rule similar to the rule that you have and just duplicate it and tweak it as necessary. But for this example, we are making an edit to a rule that I've created. So I'll select the rule, click edit, and I'm back to this box where I created my rule. And what I really wanted was, instead of greater than, I wanted it to be greater than or equal to 10. So now that I've fixed that, I'm going to click OK and then click OK. And now that is going to be applied to 10 and above. So anytime we have 10 days and above, 10 days overdue and above, that cell is going to turn red. So that's how you would create a rule from scratch. So what if you need to get rid of a rule? Well, you could delete the rule from the rules manager box. You could do that. But a faster way I find is to use this option. If you click on conditional formatting, there is a clear rules option that allows you to clear rules from selected cells or clear rules from an entire worksheet. So you could easily clear any rules that are in your worksheet if you'd like to start from scratch can just click on that and it's going to clear any rules that are in your worksheet. And if you'd like to just clear rules from a certain part of your worksheet, just select that and clear rules from selected cells. So that's how you would clear or delete any rules if you needed to. Okay, so there's one more thing on our slide that we haven't talked about, and it's this, managing rule priority. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about rule priority and why it's important. Why is rule priority important? Okay, so I'm going to bring up another file. And this file already has conditional formatting performed, and it's a list of students and their test scores. So take a look at the score column, and you'll notice that some cells are green, some are gold, some are red. So these are the rules that were applied. Scores that are greater than 90 are highlighted in green. Scores that are greater than 60 are highlighted in gold. Scores that are less than 60 are highlighted in red. Those are the 3 rules that have been applied. However, this is where rule priority comes in. Take a look at student 1's score. Student 1's score is 95. It meets both the first rule and the second rule. So the first rule is greater than 90. The second rule is greater than 60. So the score 95 is both greater than 90 and greater than 60. And yet this cell is formatted green. Why is it? Well, because of a rule that happens when it comes to conditional formatting. Anytime you apply several rules on the same data set in conditional formatting, the highest priority rule is what will work. Excel will choose the highest priority rule and skip the rest. So obviously it seems like the green rule was the highest priority rule because the cell is green. So how do we know what rule is the priority rule? What rule is lesser priority? How do we manage that? I'll show you. If we go back to conditional formatting and we click on manage rules, I have to select the data set first. I'll select the column, go to manage rules. You'll see the 3 rules that have been applied. And it says that the rules are applied in the order shown. So the rule of thumb when using conditional formatting is that the rule applied last takes priority. So start with the least priority rule, apply that first, follow with the second rule, and then the highest priority rule has to be applied last. It should appear first on the list, and that is the rule that will take priority. Let's just mess with the order a little bit and see what happens there. I'm going to put in the second rule and make it the first rule, and you'll see what happens. So I'll select the second rule, use the arrow to move it up. It's now the first rule. I'm going to click OK, and this is what happens. The conditional formatting will change because now the yellow rule takes priority, and it's going to override the green rule in case of a conflict, or in case a cell, the rules apply to, both rules apply to one cell. So it's imperative that your rule priority is correct. And if necessary, just play around with your rule priority until you get the order that you want and your conditional formatting works exactly as it's supposed to. So rule priority is extremely important when applying several rules to the same data set. Let's talk about a specific situation where you might need to use a formula in conditional formatting. So when do we use formulas in conditional formatting? This is really useful when comparing data sets within your, comparing data within your data set, or when you have to display things like sales team dashboards, performance reports, or monthly tracking summaries. So I have a good example to show when it comes to using formulas. And we're going to perform conditional formatting here, and we'll use a specific formula. Let's take a look at the data set. It's a list of employees and their sales target. Just going to zoom in a little bit. And their sales target. then their actual sales. So what we'd like to do is highlight the top performers, and we want to make sure that anytime an employee has exceeded their sales target, that whole row is highlighted in green. So how do we do that? Well, we have to use a formula. And we're going to use this formula that you see here on the slide. Anytime the value in C is greater than the value in B, then we're going to highlight the whole row. Anytime the actual sales amount is greater than the sales target, we'd like to highlight the whole row. So that's the formula we'll use. C2 greater than B2. So let's do that. And this time I'm going to select the entire data set because I would like to make sure the entire row is highlighted. And then I'll go to conditional formatting. And obviously this is a brand new rule from scratch. So I'm going to click on new rule. And the rule foundation for formulas is this one. Use a formula to determine which cells to format. So down here, we're going to put our formula in, and this is our formula. So equal sign, I'm going to anchor the column. So anytime the value in C, so we'll start with C2, anytime the value in C is greater than the value in B, please highlight the cell or highlight the entire row. Highlight how? So let's set the formatting. I want it highlighted in green, and then I'm going to click OK and click OK. And there we go. So anytime the value in C exceeds the value in B, the entire cell, the entire row is going to be highlighted, and it's a great way to bring attention to those high performers in the data set. So sometimes you might need to use a formula. Always make sure that your formula is correct when you use it, and make sure you use the references correctly, because cell references can be a bit confusing when it comes to formulas. So test out your formulas, make sure they're accurate, test them out on the first row, make sure they're accurate before you apply them to your entire data set. All right, now let's talk about the common pitfalls of conditional formatting. The first thing is rule conflicts. So that's where rule priority comes in. When you have multiple rules applied to the same range, the same data set, there can be clashes and there can be situations where one rule overrides the other. So you have to make sure that the order or the rule priority is managed well. Make sure that you apply the rules in such a way that the highest priority rule is applied last, and it's going to apply to the cells. So rule conflicts and rule priority are something to be aware of. The second thing to be aware of or to be careful of is when using formulas, make sure your references are accurate. So with cell references, you can either have a relative cell reference or an absolute cell reference. So make sure you use the right one in the right place. Misusing the dollar signs in your formulas could break your rule, especially when you apply it to multiple cells. So just test out your formula first, apply it to one row before, and then check if it works before you apply it to the rest of the range. Number 3, over formatting. And there is such a thing as over formatting. It's so tempting to use so many colors, so many icons, so many rules, but it can make your spreadsheet look confusing rather than insightful. So I actually have an over formatted conditional formatting demo file to show you. And this is what it would look like. It would look like a complete circus. You don't know what to focus on. You don't know what you're highlighting. It's just a mess. So try and stick to 1 or 2 types or rules of conditional formatting per worksheet. And try also to use consistent color logic. So red for anything negative or bad, and green for anything positive or good. Next is too many rules, and there is such a thing as well. So if you apply too many rules to your data set, it may slow down. And this is especially common for shared files or cloud-based workbooks. So try and make sure that you only have as many rules as you really need. Keep it simple, keep it efficient, and use your rules wisely. And finally, forgotten rules. And this normally happens if you inherit a spreadsheet from someone else or you copy and paste from another workbook. You might find yourself with some strange formatting appearing. So anytime that happens, just clear all the rules and start from scratch, or just check the rule manager to see which rules are applied and just get rid of the rules that you don't need. So conditional formatting is great, it's powerful, but it needs clean, intentional design for it to work smoothly. So when in doubt, audit your rules and simplify. Okay, I have another question for you. As we get to the end, which style of conditional formatting was your favorite? So which one did you like the most? I'm going to bring up my chat. Which one was your favorite? Which one do you see yourself using? Oh, icon sets. That's a good one. Highlighting the whole row. Yeah, that's true. Formulas for overdue items. That's a good one. Formulas, graphs. Ah, yes. Yes. Yeah, they're all pretty great and using different rules. Yeah, that's a good one. Can be tricky, but it works really well if you test your rules out before you apply it to your data set. Okay, so let's just recap. Final words. So try and use only 1 or 2 rules per sheet. Keep it simple, keep it efficient. Number 2, try and avoid over formatting. And finally, test your formulas and rules on copies of data first, or maybe just the 1 row of data before you apply it to the rest of your data set. And conditional formatting will help you, and it's going to transform your data into visual stories that will give you meaningful insights and useful information. So I'm going to hand back over to Joy now.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Gloria. I think I can honestly say that really was action-packed. I think I'm going to say my favorite rule is not too many rules. I think that's a good rule to go by. And then I love how you pointed out that conditional formatting can help you clean your data too before you're sharing it with others, which is fantastic. Okay, so if everyone wants, if you have any questions, why don't you put them in your chat? I'm just going to show you guys something first, and then we will go through your questions. Perfect. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Okay, perfect. So everyone can see my screen. Perfect. Okay, so if you are interested in more information about conditional formatting, if you go down to Excel under courses, we cover conditional formatting under Excel level 3, and we do talk about it in Excel tips and tricks and time savers level 2. And as I always say here, we absolutely love Excel. We actually have 17 different Excel courses. Many of them are offered in French also. And we go through everything from the basics or the essentials all the way to being more productive, data visualizations like dashboards. We go deeper into pivot tables. That's covered in Excel level 3 also. All the power functions and features, all the way into keeping up with all the new features that Microsoft keeps updating Excel with. So in October, we're actually going to release 2 more Excel courses, and I'm very serious when we say we love Excel and we teach lots and lots of Excel. We have a new course that's called Excel Data Mastery, Clean, Analyze, and Visualize. And so it's also learning the process of how you clean your data and then all the tools to analyze and do all the visualizations in it. And then another one we have is called A Quick Start to Excel VBA and AI. So in Excel level 3, we cover the basics or the intro into macros, but then we do have another course that goes deep into Excel VBA if you want to learn programming and stuff. But this course is in the middle for those who want to do more with their macros, be able to edit the code. But then this course also brings in how AI can help you with that. Okay, so this webinar actually brings us to the end of our webinar season. And we'll be coming back in the fall in September with more webinars. And the schedule should be up by the beginning of August. So feel free to check back. We have lots of really great content for you next year. We're already planning. September, we're going to have Excel tips and tricks part two. So that under our previous webinars, there is a part one. This will be part two. We're going to talk about SharePoint basics and how it integrates with some of the 365 programs. We're going to have the practical use of AI in the workplace. And then even later on, we're going to have business writing that works. And that's actually even only some of our content. So if you want, when Susan sends out the follow-up email with the links for today, if you want, she can notify you when the schedule's out so you can take a look. Just reply back to her email and just say, hey, when it comes out, just send me the link. Or yeah, let me know when the schedule's out. And then I was just going to say, feel free to check back on our free resources because we add new content all the time to it on a very regular basis. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and Gloria, let's get to everyone's questions.
Okay, so Shalini had a question.
Yep.
Okay. It says there, how do you tell the difference in your rules? Is there a way to put in a legend? That is a brilliant question. It would be nice if Excel had a legend. It would make life so much easier. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It doesn't have a legend. So what you could do is create your own legend, something simple on the side of your data set. So if your project status in progress is green, you could just type in what green means. So fill your cell with green, type in what green means, fill your cell with the red color and type in what red means. So just create your own tiny legend on the right. It won't be linked to your data set in any way, but it's just a great way of explaining what your formatting is all about and what your rules are to whoever you're going to be sharing the data set with.
I actually have a question here for you, Gloria. Can the built-in rules be edited? For example, if I wanted to use color scales, but have my own set of high, low, and medium ranges, is that possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. It actually is possible. So what Excel does is it's just going to choose its own ranges within your data set. It will decide what's high, what's low, what's average, but you can change that. So what you could do is after applying the built-in rule, go back to your rule manager, edit, and then change, tweak your ranges and define what's high for you, what's low for you, what's average for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I have one more question. Can conditional formatting be used in Excel tables and pivot tables?
Yes, it absolutely can. And it actually works better for tables than for just a normal range of data. It works really great. And it works great with pivot tables too, but you just need to tweak it a little bit because pivot tables change so much, but it absolutely works for tables and
That's one you definitely want to test when
yeah,
you
that's
apply
true.
the conditional formatting. Perfect.
Absolutely.
There's another question there.
Mhm.
Yep.
It says, can you get the whole row to highlight if you have the rule cell contains? Yes, you absolutely can get the whole row to highlight. What you need to do to get that to work is you have to select the whole data set and then you'd have to use a formula and type in the actual cell name that you're comparing with. But it can work the same way I would use it for the sales target. You'd have to use it with a formula. You can't choose it with a built-in tool, but you'd have to find a way around it. But it's absolutely possible to do that with the formula.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, if there isn't any more questions, I just want to say, so everyone, this was actually our 61st free webinar. We started doing this in January 2020. So we want to thank everyone for attending them and supporting us while we do this and continue to do it into the future. When Susan sends the follow-up email, we include a survey. Please feel free to send us any feedback you have and any content you guys want to see in the future. That would be helpful.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Joy, to for your wonderful hosting abilities, and to our presenter, Gloria, for an excellent webinar. And thanks to all of you for taking the time to join us. We hope you have a fantastic, safe, and fun summer. We're going to close the room
Yeah.
now, but you'll receive a link to the replay of the webinar and a practical handout within 2 business days. I'll also include any links, as Joy mentioned, and items of mention. Until next time, nurture learning and see you in September.